If you like audiobooks or audio shows, check out a free trial of Audible. Just click the link in the description.
Welcome to Mindshock True Crime. This is your host, Bruce McGuire. Today we are taking a look at the Tyler Davis case. Tyler Davis is a missing person out of Columbus, Ohio, who was last seen February 24th, 2019. This is an incredibly baffling case. It was one requested by one of our patrons, and it is truly mind-shocking, and we will be examining every angle and every theory in typical Mindshock fashion, with logic and reason at the forefront. If you enjoyed the podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell for notifications. Make sure you allow your device to have those notifications come through. Or you could just go to youtube.com/Mindshock or youtube.com/Mindshock True Crime. Like and share this podcast. Keep up the awareness in this missing persons case as well as other cases. You could also check us out on Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, and Patreon. Patrons do get priority for case topic logical analysis, co-podcast requests. You could also be a guest on the podcast depending on your tier. Questions, comments, theories, thoughts, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings of any kind. Leave them in the comment section. Alright, so we are actually going to be taking a look at a few different sources here to try to get all of the information available in this case in one place. So this is from the Disappeared blog, disappearedblog.com, on Tyler Davis, updated November 18th, 2020. Last seen February 24th, 2019, Tyler Davis. Case information: 29-year-old Tyler Davis went missing from Columbus, Ohio, February 24th, 2019. He was last seen around 3 a.m. near the Hilton at Easton Town Center in Columbus. On February 23rd, 2019, Tyler and his wife Brittany traveled to Columbus, Ohio to celebrate her birthday. After dropping off their 20-month-old son at his parents' house, they drove to Columbus from their home in Wilmington, Ohio, about a 90-minute trip. They checked into the Hilton Hotel in front of the Easton Town Center around 5 p.m., met up with a friend who lived nearby, Sean Hughes. Around 8:30 p.m., the three of them left the hotel to walk around the shopping center, visiting some bars and clubs. Around 3 a.m., they took an Uber back to the hotel. On the way back, Tyler fell asleep in the car. When they arrived back at the hotel, he was confused and frustrated, according to Brittany, and said he was going to go for a walk. Brittany went back into the hotel to charge her phone while Sean left with Tyler on foot. A half hour later, Brittany came back outside but couldn't find either of them. She called Tyler's cell phone and he called her back at 3:30 a.m., saying he would be right back. A few minutes later, Sean came walking back to the hotel, but Tyler wasn't with him. At this point, Brittany tried to call Tyler again, but he wouldn't answer. At approximately 4:10 a.m., Tyler called her back, telling her, "I see the hotel. I'm walking through the woods. I'll be right there." He hung up and called back immediately, but when Brittany answered, she only heard 4 seconds of silence before the phone went dead. She called him back, but his phone was off and has been shut off ever since. At 4:30 a.m., their friend Sean, who lived about 10 minutes away from the hotel, decided to go home. Brittany went inside the hotel and started calling friends, asking for advice on what to do. Tyler never came back to the hotel and hasn't been seen or heard from since. At 9:30 a.m., Brittany called Tyler's parents to let them know he hadn't come back. At 10:30 a.m., she reported Tyler missing to the Columbus Police Department. Right off the bat there, there's some red flags there. Sean, unless they did really go all around looking for him, at which point would you stop? I don't know. And the fact that he's continually calling her back, and also at this hour in the morning, it's very possible the phone went dead, because when was the last time he charged it? So there's a lot of factors here we have to consider, but let's finish with the write-up here. Investigation. Authorities, as well as several search and rescue organizations, have conducted multiple searches of the area, but haven't found any evidence. Tyler's phone indicates he was walking around Abbott Labs at 3:53 a.m. near the intersection of Stelzer Road and Morse Crossing. Stelzer Road and Morse Crossing. This is his last known locations. Authorities don't believe Tyler went missing intentionally. They released audio from his phone showing that he was asking for directions to the hotel and intended to go back. His case remains unsolved. Appearance: Tyler Davis is a Caucasian male born June 30th, 1989. He has brown hair, brown eyes, stands 5'9", weighs 170 pounds. He has a red birthmark on his right arm that goes up to his neck. Tyler was last seen wearing a blue and green flannel, a white t-shirt, blue jeans, and Nike shoes. Investigating agency: if you have any information regarding the disappearance of Tyler Davis, please contact the Columbus Police Department, 614-645-2355, or Central Ohio Crime Stoppers, 614-461-TIPS. So this is an article from 10 TV News, WBNS. Police release audio in search for man who was last seen near Easton. What happened to Tyler Davis? That's a question Columbus police are still trying to answer. Written by Angela Reihard, October 3rd, 2019, updated October 22nd, 2019. What happened to Tyler Davis? That's a question Columbus police are still trying to answer. It's been more than 7 months since the Southwest Ohio man disappeared from near Easton Town Center. Now police are making a plea to the public, hoping for new leads. We need answers, said Detective Jason Bramer from Columbus Police. On February 23rd into the early hours of February 24th, Davis and his wife were celebrating her birthday along with a friend. A night of dinner and drinks took a turn when Davis walked off from Easton Hilton, where they were staying. It's been a really long time, and our family deserves answers, Brittany Davis said. On Thursday, officers released audio from the night he vanished. Police said you can hear Davis ask his phone for directions back to the hotel.
Easton Suites. Easton Suites.
Huh, interesting. What it showed me was intent, Bramer said. It showed that Tyler wasn't trying to go sneak off and have a life somewhere else. That shows me I want to get home. Police mapped out the route Davis took that night using digital forensics. His last known location was 3:53 a.m. near Stelzer Road and Morse Crossing. Police pointed out a swamp they've searched in the area several times. We have not found any evidence yet, Bramer said. That doesn't mean that we have stopped looking for evidence, because we still are. While there are theories on social media about what happened, police remain tight-lipped, saying they are not ruling anything out. It's doing a disservice to this investigation if I lean in any direction, Detective Bramer said. I have to go where the evidence is taking me at this point. If I had it taking me in a certain direction, we wouldn't be standing here. I would be elbow deep in what's going on, but I'm not. I'm here still asking the help from the public. So, quite interesting. So he's admitting they got nothing, which is quite curious. Usually the police don't do that. And it's also curious that it took them this many months to release this audio. I mean, I guess they thought it wasn't relevant. Why is it relevant now? I don't know. But let's get some more details here. This is from wherearetheypodcast.medium.com, the unsolved disappearance of Tyler Davis, posted by Jennifer, March 17th. Information is obtained from the Where Are They podcast and other sources as noted. Is it possible one can wander off in a populated area and disappear into thin air? What if I told you they wandered off at 3:30 a.m.? Again, very ominous hour, the witching hour in the occult. The story of Tyler Davis is exceptionally puzzling. Tyler and his wife, Brittany, were enjoying a rare getaway at the Easton Town Center complex in Columbus, Ohio, February 23rd, 2019. They had treated themselves to an overnight stay at the Hilton and had a couple's massage scheduled for the next day. After a night on the town, an Uber driver dropped them off at the Hilton just after 3 a.m. on the morning of February 24th. Travis suddenly felt disoriented and confused and claimed they were not where they're supposed to be. He said he wanted to take a walk around the block and think. Brittany needed to charge her phone, so she headed up to the hotel room and the friend would go check on Tyler. Tyler would never be seen again. Where is Tyler Davis? That's weird. Disoriented, claimed they were not where they're supposed to be. I mean, in what sense? Was that kind of metaphorical? Or was it physically he thought they needed to be at a different hotel? Tyler Davis was a 29-year-old man in 2019, married to Brittany, and together they have one child, Aaron. Aaron was born in 2017 and was just 2 years old at the time of Tyler's disappearance. Honestly, Aaron might be the biggest victim in all this tragedy. It is unlikely he has any memory of his father at this point. Tyler met Brittany at their fast food restaurant in 2013. They didn't begin dating, however, until 2016. In 2017, they would have their son Aaron, and they would marry later that year. Tyler was a fast food manager working at a Wendy's in a little town outside of Cincinnati, Ohio. He often worked nights, and Brittany occasionally worked as a bartender, so the two were self-proclaimed night owls. Money was tight as a young family, but they vowed to have at least 3 nights out a year: Brittany's birthday, Tyler's birthday, and their anniversary. February 24th was Brittany's birthday, and they had planned a nice little getaway up in the Columbus, Ohio area, 3 hours from their home. So again, we have conflicting information here, so some other anywhere between 90 minutes and 3 hours, depending on which source you're looking at. They chose to stay at the Hilton in Easton Town Center. Easton Town Center is a large, very nice shopping center. Actually, more like a town in itself. Over 270 shops and stores, 75 restaurants and bars, and a few condo townhome complexes, all located in the Easton Town Center premises. There are several hotels in the general vicinity, but just the Hilton and the Courtyard Marriott are considered to be located within Easton Town Center. On February 23rd, 2019, Tyler and Brittany took their son Aaron to Tyler's parents' house before heading up to Easton. They checked into the hotel at 5 p.m. Shortly after, a friend of Tyler's meets up with them at the hotel. Their friend, Sean Hughes, would be hanging out with them for the entire night. They hit up some local restaurants, checked out the area. Brittany said she had never been there before and was excited to see what the area had and kind of plan out what they wanted to do the next day. They had a couple's massage booked for that Saturday, but the rest was going to be just doing whatever they wanted. Most of the restaurants and bars within Easton were closed around midnight, but they weren't done drinking and hanging out. They found a nearby gentleman's club, the Dollhouse, and took an Uber over there, where they would remain until close. Near the end of the night at the Dollhouse, Brittany went to use the bathroom. When she came out, she said she heard Tyler and Sean arguing with someone and noticed the lights were now bright within the club. The bouncers were telling Tyler and Sean they had to leave, but Tyler insisted he had to wait for his wife who was in the bathroom. The plot thickens. There's some kind of an altercation in the club. Uh-oh. They soon got an Uber and made the 20-minute drive back to the Hilton. Here's where things start to get strange. I'm going to detail the order of events, and then we will discuss them and if they make sense or not. Brittany said Tyler was dozing off in the car, but when they arrived at the Hilton, Tyler woke up and was agitated and confused, saying they weren't where they were supposed to be. Brittany and Sean tried to talk to him, but he kept insisting they were in the wrong place. Finally, he said he needed to take a walk and clear his head. He got out of the Uber and started walking away. Brittany didn't know what to do, but she had to pee again, totally believable as a consequence of drinking all night, and her phone was almost dead and she wanted to go charge it. Sean said he would follow Tyler and make sure he was all right, and that she should go up to their room. Brittany did just that. So from the description here, Tyler and Sean weren't arguing with each other. They were arguing with someone else, and then the bouncers were telling them to leave. Interesting. Sean might hold some answers here in regard to this. After charging her phone for 10 minutes, she came back downstairs and found Sean walking back in. He said Tyler would be right back and he was just taking a short walk. Is that really true? Brittany tried calling Tyler, but he didn't answer. He did, however, call right back. It was 3:37 a.m. He said he was just walking around the block and he'd be back soon. At 4:10 a.m., he called her again and said he was in the woods, but he could see the hotel and he'd be there in 5 minutes. 2 minutes later, Brittany's phone rang again. It was Tyler. When she answered this time, she only heard a few seconds of empty air when the phone cut off. She tried Tyler back numerous times, but at this point, his phone was either off or dead. At 4:30 a.m., Sean said he was going to head home. He lived just 10 minutes from the Easton shopping area. Brittany, panicking, says she called friends for advice on what to do. Everyone told her to just wait it out. Tyler would be back soon. 8 a.m. comes and Brittany is desperate. She called a friend of hers, someone that from what I read was a former roommate of hers, and he lives in the Columbus area. He shows up and the two go off and search for Tyler. So Sean didn't go and search? So he just came back and said that Tyler would be right back. Then he hung out for a little bit and then he's just like, I'm going home. This is really weird. Sean definitely knows something because they got into some kind of argument with someone else. And about what we don't know. Is it possible Tyler was drugged for some purpose? I don't know. That's what's jumping out at me now, but let's continue here. Brittany later would say that she just thought he probably passed out on a bench or somewhere. Certainly logical since he had been drinking all night. However, February in Ohio isn't exactly warm, especially at night. So even if that was true, they definitely should have been worried. They looked all over the Easton Town Center area but found no sign of Tyler. Finally, at 10:30 a.m., the morning of February 24th, Brittany called Tyler's parents and then called the police to report him missing. She said in an interview she was terrified to call his parents. She really wanted to find him first. He was very close to his parents, and she knew that when Tyler did return, he would be really upset that she had called his mom and worried her. She was at her last option, however. She had already called the hospitals and the jails and was getting nowhere. The police showed up 12:30 p.m. She met with the officers in the parking lot of the Hilton Hotel. The first thing the police officer said was a man has a right to go missing. And since Tyler wasn't elderly or a child, they couldn't really do much for about 72 hours. And of course, the first 48 are the most critical. Brittany was frustrated as she knew that something was wrong. At 5 p.m., Tyler's dad told Brittany to go back and get her son, and they would keep looking. Brittany also repeatedly said the detective wasn't very forthcoming with her and wasn't very nice to her during the initial conversations. That Sunday evening, the night of the 24th, Brittany went back to Easton with some friends and they searched wooded areas and all areas they could think of. She spoke to the manager of the Easton and they started reviewing security footage. Brittany had very little sleep but seemed determined to find her missing husband. Easton security told her they saw Tyler walking back to the Hilton around 4:15 on camera, which made sense to Brittany based on when she last spoke to Tyler. However, it would come that this footage wasn't Tyler, but someone else, possibly Tyler's friend Sean. The footage was dark and grainy, but looked to be Sean. Also, it's 4:15 in the morning. There aren't a lot of people out just walking around. Brittany said it was probably when she and Sean were walking back and forth up and down looking for Tyler. So they did look for him. This didn't mention that at the beginning. It said Sean came back, said Tyler would be right back, and then he said he was leaving. So they did look for him. Okay, that's less suspicious. The cops conducted their first official search on Tuesday, February 26th. Afterwards, they called Brittany and let her know they searched some bodies of water and some woods, concentrated on the area where his phone pinged. They brought out search dogs, and they did say the search dogs hit on the area of one of the ponds. Police said the police have said all the nearby bodies of water have been searched multiple times. And again, when you only search it once, you could say, okay, they might have missed it. Okay, twice they missed it. Okay, 3 times. Did they miss it all 3 times? How many? What is multiple times? Is it 2, 3, 4, 5? I mean, you would think it would be at least 2 or 3, in which case, in this day and age, what technology were they using and how did they search? I mean, if they're using sonar and advanced technology, I mean, this isn't the backwoods of someplace. This is Ohio, although some people might call it that. It seems like he probably is not there if they searched it multiple times. There were 0 signs of Tyler anywhere. The police do obtain some records from Tyler's phone and found some interesting clues. They do verify these calls to Brittany. They also find a record of him searching his Google Maps for directions back to Easton. How far did he go? That's weird. Interesting, we can definitively verify that Tyler was out and about, but wanting to get back to the hotel, so then why didn't he? At first, police don't release much information. Most people on social media and in the community find flaws in Brittany's story. And I don't think it's that they find flaws so much as there are so many questions left unanswered. It would be months before police would release surveillance footage. Again, let's compare and contrast to other cases like the Maura Murray case, where it's been decades and they're more than a decade and they're still withholding a lot of footage, UMass, the liquor store, etc. Quite interesting. It would be months before police would release surveillance footage and information that they were able to confirm through this phone GPS that he did indeed walk away from the Hilton alone. They can tell he walked through the nearby Huntington Bank complex on Stelzer Road and then asked his phone for directions. How disoriented was he? Because this isn't that far. They can also tell via phone GPS records that he was near the Abbott Labs complex at one point, which is interesting. While not far via a car ride, it's at least a mile from the Hilton Easton. The police also didn't release the name of the friend, Sean Hughes, right away, so a lot of initial speculation was centered around him. Was there a dispute with them all that night? Why did Tyler go from napping in the car to needing to clear his head? And while something doesn't seem to be adding up, what is confusing, at least to me, is that we can verify he walked away on foot alone, and he did call Brittany a few times before disappearing. Sean supposedly left at 4:30 a.m. to go home. Brittany was obviously upset and said she never slept all night looking for Tyler and calling people for help. Why did Sean leave her like this? Also, why wasn't he more worried about Tyler? There are a lot of names brought up in the days afterwards as people searched for him. Friends, family, and even some of his employees from Wendy's. But Sean's name isn't mentioned as being there at all. If he lived 10 minutes away and this is a good friend, shouldn't he be all over the search? Especially since he knows the area very well. Interesting. Or did he leave at 4:30 and pick up Tyler from there? A lot of people are picking apart Brittany's stories in her interviews, but what about Sean? Of course, it is possible he was drunk and stumbled off and had an accident somewhere. Not too long ago, we heard the story of a drunk man leaving a bar and climbing in a dumpster and falling asleep. Then he was killed when the trash collected and compacted the contents of the dumpster the next day. Yeah, but then they actually found out about that, though. Searches and searches and searches have been done with no sign of Tyler, no wallet, no phone, nothing. It seems this story has a lot more theories than it does evidence. Easton is very built up. Populated area, certainly no heavily wooded areas. There is, however, a small patch of woods about a block away that is a barrier between Stelzer Road and Highway 270. There are also two small bodies of water on the side of the trees, but to my knowledge, those have been thoroughly searched. And it's a pretty small area, so it would certainly be an easy area to cover. It's also unfortunate that we don't have more surveillance footage considering the hundreds of businesses there. But Easton is built up to be very nice and park-like. Many shrubs and landscaping shield the sidewalks from the stores. So even if he did walk by the sidewalk, it might never be picked up on camera. So what are the theories in this case? Theory 1. Tyler walked away, had an accident, or even succumbed to the elements. He was drunk, there isn't exactly any evidence pointing to foul play, and it's been known to happen. I think it's quite odd that no sign of him has surfaced, however. I mean, even if he had an accident and fell somewhere, you would think someone would have found something. His phone, wallet, shoes, something. Also, he had first called Brittany at 3:37 a.m. while he was out walking. She heard from him again just after 4 a.m. How far could he have gotten? He might have been more than a mile away from the hotel at that point, and yes, he did say he could see the hotel during his last call, but was it really the hotel? Theory 2, Tyler fell victim to foul play. Was he taken out of the area? Is that why there has been so little evidence recovered? And did he meet foul play at the hands of a stranger, or even more sinister, someone he knew? I mean, they're leaving out a few. If he did want to if he changed his mind at whatever point, if he's not in his right mind. So let's say he was trying to get it back to the hotel, everything added up, and then at whatever moment something struck him and he decided that he'd be better off with a different life. One possibility. Another possibility, if Sean knew where he was or found him, did he help him get out of the area? Is that what he said he wanted? Or was there some argument or falling out with Sean that he neglected to mention? Was the argument at the nightclub really between Tyler and Sean? Maybe it involved a third party, maybe it didn't. Huh. In a lot of cases, we also talk about people walking away and starting a new life. Nothing says that to me in this situation. He had a 2-year-old. He and Brittany were supposedly doing well. He was very close to his parents. Why disappear, and where? These are the same reasons I don't believe suicide is a theory. So there is footage, there's surveillance footage showing Tyler walking away from the Hilton. We have a fair amount of data on the night he went missing, meaning a timeline we can follow at least to a certain point and then nothing. Okay. Alright, so let's go to Reddit for some astute commenters and theories here. This one's from Fearless Bed 4156, just 3 months ago, on the Unresolved Mysteries subreddit. Once again, one of the best subreddits for true crime. February 29th, 2019, Tyler Davis and his wife Brittany dropped their 19-month-old son off at his parents' house, headed to Easton Town Center for an overnight getaway to celebrate Brittany's birthday. They arrived at Hilton Hotel, Easton Town Center in Columbus, Ohio, around 5 p.m. A friend of Tyler's that lived nearby met them at the hotel, and they headed out to the shopping center for some food and drinks. Easton Town Center is a large shopping complex with over 270 stores, 75 restaurants, a movie theater, 2 hotels, and even some condominiums. It is a very nice upper-scale part of town. When the bars closed around midnight, the three decided to head off to another open venue, a gentleman's club, and took an Uber over to the Dollhouse. They stayed there until closing time, took an Uber back to the hotel around 3 a.m. When the Uber pulled up to the hotel, Tyler began acting confused, stated a few times they weren't in the right place. He decided to go for a walk, clear his head. His friend said he would go check on him. Brittany would head up to the hotel room to use the bathroom and charge her phone. 20 minutes later, Brittany comes downstairs, wondering where Tyler was. She saw the friend walking back into the hotel, and he told Brittany that Tyler would be back in a few minutes. And it's curious, so I'm assuming he did meet up with Tyler, and Tyler told him he'd be back in a few minutes, or he made that up because he never actually caught up to him after that moment. Again, unknown. At 3:37 a.m., Tyler then called her and said he was just taking a walk, he'd be back soon. At 4:10 a.m., Tyler called again and said he was in the woods, but could see the hotel and would be back in 5 minutes. They were in a shopping center and busy metropolis area, no woods. Actually, there are patches of woods. The friend would leave for his home a few minutes later. Brittany didn't know what to do, called some friends for advice. At 4:30 a.m., the ones she reached told her to just sit and wait it out. Tyler would be back soon. 8 a.m., Brittany reached a friend that didn't live too far away from Easton, and he would drive up to the hotel, help her search for Tyler for a couple hours. They suspected that he was drunk and probably passed out on a park bench somewhere. I mean, that's not the worst theory. 10:30 a.m., after still no sign of Tyler, they called police to report him missing. Police would see Tyler on surveillance walking away from the Hilton alone just after 3 a.m. They would also verify phone records and were able to tell that he used Google Voice to pull up his GPS and ask for directions back to the Easton Suites. Tyler would never be seen or heard from again. No clues have surfaced in the search for Tyler in and around the Easton Town Center area. What happened to 29-year-old Tyler Davis? Did he walk away, become lost, and succumb to the elements? Was Brittany and the friend involved in his disappearance somehow, or did he possibly meet with foul play at the hands of a stranger? And another post here forgot a very important detail. Tyler hadn't slept much and was exhausted in addition to being drunk. And this kind confection user who posted that also posted this. I remember coming away from the True Crime Garage podcast feeling like the wife knew more than she was letting on, and that the friend might have been a bit friendlier to her than Tyler. Maybe someone could chime in here. There was something else that happened after hours at the club. Maybe Tyler got into it with a bouncer or something. I can't remember and could be totally wrong. It had something to do with the bouncer at the club asking Tyler and his friend to leave because they were loitering. They were just waiting for Brittany to come out of the bathroom or something like that. I remember her being hesitant about sharing a few of the details, like that it was a strip club specifically that they were at, so I feel there might have been some drug use going on. The acting confused plus going for a random walk at 4 a.m. certainly suggests drugs to me. Whether he took them intentionally or was drugged remains to be seen. Could be that. Also, as mentioned above, he was exhausted and hadn't slept much. The effects from lack of sleep are akin to being drunk or drugged. Confused, disoriented, unbalanced, etc. So he was working 10 to 12-hour days, 6 days in a row. Interesting. Another post here by Hungover Dejan. Perhaps he knows a thing or two about hangovers. Could just be blacked out drunk. They had a 19-month-old son. Could have been their first time binge drinking in several months. Blackouts definitely create confusion and very random behavior depending on the person. Blackout drunk and passed out drunk are totally different. During blackout, you remain conscious, but you don't remember anything or very little. Cocaine or other stimulants will keep conscious and drinking to help you get to blackout drunk. Happened to me only once, and coke was involved. This is from someone named Rocky. Another poster here, PCH Fusionist. I used to party a lot before I settled down. Nobody's going to be 100% fine in a blackout state. Fortunately, I was calm drunk and able to function in a passable way even when blacked out. I used to call it my autopilot. I could converse, text, pay my bar tab, give clear directions home to the cabbie, lock my front door and go to bed without any problems, all without remembering a blessed thing. If his wife's story is true, Davis probably wasn't blackout drunk. My guess is that he was sleep deprived, which combined with alcohol will do about the same job on someone as drinking excessively. I also wonder how much he had to eat. That's a big factor too. I don't think that focusing on Davis's alcohol consumption is going to be useful here. First, we have only his wife's account. Second, people function very differently when drinking and sleep deprived and when blacked out drunk. Interesting. And Hungover Dejan responded here, if it's typical behavior for that person, I would say so. Also, keep in mind the other two were likely also highly intoxicated. It's hard to understand the actions of the people in this case if you have personally never blacked out or been around blackout drunks. The only way to prevent an aggressive drunk from, in this case, going on a walk is by physical force or calling law enforcement. But why do that if he's just going for a walk? The actions of the people in this case may seem pretty normal to me for a night of binge drinking in your 20s. My personal theory is his phone died and he hitched a ride with the wrong random stranger at 4 a.m. Interesting theory indeed, but here's the thing. I still can't shake the issues with his wife and the other friend. It seems like there's something more there. Not necessarily that there's something between him and the other, his friend and his wife. Not that there's a cheating love triangle going on, although that happens. I mean, again, this is Earth, and humans have been known to be involved in love triangles, just saying. But whether or not that's true or not, there seems to be missing information, as if there might have been a fight over something or someone, or some kind of an altercation in the club with another individual. Do we have any more information on that account? Were they really going to be booted out for loitering, especially if they were spending money? And they're just waiting for someone to return from the bathroom? Unless that individual is, and if she was in the bathroom for like a half an hour and they're kind of like leaning in the hallway waiting for her. I mean, even still, I mean, it's difficult. It's difficult to, again, are there security cameras in that club? In like the hallway area or even outside in the, just the entrance to see what kind of state they were in coming and going, to see maybe if they were angry, body language clues. Again, there seems to be a lack of information, and it's frustrating in a way, because in this technological age, there's still so much missing. Another response here by Ms. Opinionated. I think they intentionally used something, because I think if Brittany suspected he was drugged, that would have been made public in order to emphasize how vulnerable he was out there on his own. But if she admitted to voluntary drug use, some people would have had the attitude of, oh well, it's his own fault for getting lost while he was high. Huh. Interesting. That is very, very interesting and an excellent point in terms of why she may or may not reveal certain things. Another poster here by I Like to Build. Let me break this down as a lifelong Florida man and frequent poor decision-making late-night titty bar ending up person. More likely than not, drugs were involved. How do I know this? I live in Florida, where the second largest industry to tourism is titty bars. Everyone goes to titty bars because if you are gonna drink, you might as well see titties. The girls and wives go out to titty bars with us because they like titties also. Now, if you are pre-gaming or looking to burn time after dinner before going home to a sitter, you may be at the titty bar sometime before midnight. That's just chatting with friends, looking at titties, maybe shooting pool. Totally harmless, probably not on drugs. If you're at the titty bar at 3 to 4 a.m., you are wrecked. Your whole crew is wrecked. Your night is more bad decisions than good decisions. You decided after the bars closed to get cash and go to a titty bar. Now, you may not be on drugs. Maybe you couldn't score, maybe it's a Wednesday, or maybe you're with your drunk-ass old lady who thinks you gave up blow after that big fight back in January. But it's far more likely someone in your group has a little something to toot on, so you can stay conscious enough to keep drinking at 3 a.m. And a response here is, wow, you make a lot of sense. Everything points to the let's party, and yes, by 3 a.m. a person is wrecked. Another response here, I want you to write a book about life in Florida. I would read it. Here's another interesting theory by B-Town Girl 74. And I'm thinking, if he was that drunk, he wanted to find something to help snap him out of it, in parentheses, blow, and so he somewhat secretly went off to meet up with a connect or something. This would especially make sense if he had little sleep, implying maybe uppers were involved prior to the night out and drinking. My ex from 20 years ago had a small habit, and whenever he'd get really drunk, he'd get the urge to use coke to help level him out or wake him up. So it wasn't unusual for him to wander off at 3 a.m. to score something. I'm not familiar with the case, but I think law enforcement would have been able to pull surveillance from the area and see whether he met up with someone. Wow. That is mind-shocking. That kind of makes sense if he had a habit that his wife didn't know about. Or he just didn't want to share and he wanted to score some more. And this deal... Now, here's the thing, though. Why would he disappear, though? Because if this dealer... Unless he was maybe meeting up with someone who he didn't normally know. I mean, he knew people from the area, obviously. He's got the other friend that they were out with from the area. So he knows people in the area. It's curious. It's curious. Does his friend know who this person was? But he doesn't want to get in trouble. Because this is a very, very shady dealer who's been known to kill people, and is that what's going on? That would explain the situation quite well. Another post here by Dog Wallop. All very good points. The only thing I could see is that Tyler was slipped the mic, after which someone, possibly the friend, managed to lead him away from known CCTV camera coverage and disposed of him. Otherwise, it may just be that he became disoriented, wandered into a dodgy part of town, and got mugged and killed, and his body now languishing in the basement of an abandoned building. A response here, I feel like this is the most probable scenario. Yes, Easton is a nice area, but a few blocks away, not so much. Also, could be an accident, then a cover-up. He was drunk. What if he stumbled into the road, got hit, the person freaked out, and did the wrong thing? And again, that would not be the first time. As valid a theory as ever, I suppose. Another response here by Massawal. I live in Columbus. Easton is nice, but with gigantic air quotes. It's pretty common at least a few times a year that there are either pretty big fights between groups of teenagers or shootings. I used to work right down the road from Easton on Cleveland Avenue, and it's pretty rough end of town. Well, I think a lot of the theories about the wife or the other friend being involved are pretty dumb and don't cite any actual evidence for why they would be suspect. I do believe there is a very good chance he met with foul play either by being in the wrong part of town, everything directly around Easton is pretty sketchy, or he got hit by a car on accident and the driver dumped him somewhere. The fact that he was clearly using his phone trying to get back to the hotel just doesn't lend much cadence to the idea that he was deliberately murdered by the wife or the friend. The sad truth is that this story has been shaped more by bored internet sleuths looking for a juicier story than it has been by any actual evidence. Another interesting theory here is the coyote theory. Another post here: within 30 minutes of walking, there's both Sharon Woods and 2 other nature preserves. You have many wooded areas all around Easton, a simple half-mile to 270, and you have 3 within a 2-mile radius. I think he got lost and probably passed out or fell. I know this is hard to believe, but having lived there in the area my entire life, we have coyotes. A bunch of them. It's one thing for them to approach a human while they're awake, an entirely different matter if one were passed out. Another response here: girl walks into Star. I live in Worthington next to High Street and just saw 2 coyotes a couple weeks ago run through a small strip of trees in my apartment complex. It was the middle of the day, and they even did the coyote howl. I'm originally from Michigan and have never seen a coyote in real life. I couldn't believe it. Another response here: coyotes will definitely attack someone if they look injured or compromised. Could even follow him until maybe he passed out, since they will stalk you for hours. Interesting theory. A few more curiosities, but supposedly he was 0.8 miles away from the hotel when he asked his phone for directions, but Abbott Foods Abbott Nutrition, which is a lab, is 2.5 miles from the Huntington Bank complex and back past the hotel. So there seems to be some strange points here that are hard to rectify. Actually, apparently that was not accurate. It's 2.5 miles, so his cell would have put him last known was just east of Stelzer Road and Morse Crossing. The Hilton is on the northwest corner of Easton Crossing and Easton Loop East. So this is maybe a 15 to 20 minute walk. The Huntington Bank complex is right next to Abbott. Another interesting point here by Pinwibble. Totally random thought in this direction. I didn't initially think about this, but he asked for directions back to Easton Suites. Google does not give directions to the Hilton if you ask that. Instead, it directs you to the Holiday Inn or the Marriott. That could definitely lead to getting seriously lost and could definitely widen the area a lot. I was thinking that since he had said he was in the woods and could see the hotel, that it was the correct hotel he was seeing. But if it wasn't, and he got to the wrong hotel, then realized it and wandered off again, who knows what could have happened. Now, here we're getting somewhere. That might be what happened, because then the search could possibly be directed elsewhere, and who knows how thoroughly they searched at a wider net. Another poster here, Virtual Anomaly 8. I've been there at night, and the 2 hotels look very similar. I do think he saw the lights of the other hotel instead of the hotel he was staying at. A lot of the streets have similar names as well, so it would be very easy to get lost. One of the hotels is on Easton Loop W, and on the other is on Easton Loop E. Easton Loop West, Easton Loop East. It's kind of easy to get lost there at night, especially when drinking. I've done it myself while visiting friends. Once I took an Uber to the Holiday Inn, forgetting that I was staying at the Hilton at the time. What gets me about this case is that, yeah, anyone can get lost anywhere, but this area in particular would be fairly unlikely to not find a body in. So I tend to think that in his confusion with a non-operational phone, he huddled up somewhere like a dumpster or someplace weird where he wasn't found. That's curious, because supposedly, again, the bodies of water were searched multiple times. Again, it's obviously there could have been some crevice or something strange for whatever reason he wasn't found and he is in the area, or he's simply not in the area. Another poster here, C. Busen. I'm familiar with the area. I've been familiar with the area for over 14 years. The only significant wooded areas nearby would be along Alum Creek and a few acres of uncleared land. Is it possible that he wandered towards there and his body hasn't been discovered? Sure, it's possible, but definitely closer to unlikely. Those are not dense wooded areas, and most have walking trails going through almost all of them, where Tyler could have most likely wandered through, even if you consider directly along Alum Creek. So that is a 14-plus year local saying that. So it seems like it's more likely something else could have happened. Okay, so here's someone posting this. There was another post on this a while back, proposed by Hop on Pot. I'm going a bit out on a limb, but I can't help but notice that if you compare his final cell phone ping on the map the police provided with the walking directions he would have gotten back to the hotel, either the Hilton or the other Easton Suites across the street, it would make sense for him to cut across the grass to Stelzer Road instead of taking the long loop around the driveway. If he did that, he would be walking right past the sewer grate and manhole embedded in the grass, almost exactly where the trail goes cold. It's not impossible to think that a work crew accidentally forgot to cover one of those grates up. He fell in it, and then they returned sometime later, obviously not knowing there was a missing person in the area. They sealed it back up without thinking. A similar situation happened recently in New York City. And this was actually in the New York Times, October 15th, 2019. Dead man found under manhole cover had been there for 2 weeks, and there was actually surveillance footage of this. Interesting. Someone also wrote, it happened in Belfast too, young boy called Noah. Huh. And it's curious. It's curious, so nobody has gone down there since that whatever they were working on in the sewer there. So that's a curious theory, because if you look at the cell phone pings, that might explain it. Huh. Very interesting. Another poster here, wouldn't be surprised if someone followed them from the dollhouse. That place is absolute trash. An ex of mine had a stepsister who worked there who had awful things to say about it. Also have a family friend who won some money at the casino, went to a strip club, and woke up the next day with an empty bank account and concussion. Expletive does happen. I know he had a large amount in cash and that was all gone with all of his belongings too. Either way, this guy could have been flaunting money and followed back. I'm actually surprised more people hadn't really brought that up. I mean, criminals do that fairly often. Fairly often at this point, between the possible uncovered sewer grate. I mean, is it possible he was abducted on the road by someone who followed him back from the club and it just happened to be next to the grate? That's also a possibility. I mean, we really don't know. Another poster here, this is I Like to Build again. Several of times after the titty bar, my friends woke up with concussions and drained bank accounts. But they were victimized. They got drunk, spent all their money on dances, and then fell down and hit their heads. Huh. So I guess he's considering it not likely. Another poster here. Also, it is owned and operated by Russian mob. They don't give an expletive kind of people. I 100% would not put it past them to follow someone who caused a commotion earlier in the evening. Huh. Has anybody tracked that down? Is it really a Russian mafia establishment? And what was the exact commotion they were causing? Another weird... So, I still can't shake the issues with the friend. Someone else pointed this out. Salty Babe. The satellite photo clearly shows several acre or two-sized patches of wooded area. He saw some trees and said it was woods. I'd trust my husband to wander around on his own, but yeah, after like 45 minutes max, I'd start to freak out. I'd definitely be texting him after 20, regardless of the temperature. I do think it was a bit weird the friend left immediately after the call. A response here by Topher Marlowe, yeah, that is weird. The guy just called and said he'd be back in 5 minutes. Why leave right then instead of waiting with her? Maybe she'll need help with getting him upstairs and into bed. It's after 4 a.m. already. What's another few minutes at that point? Another response here, maybe he was super annoyed. Wouldn't blame him. A response here by Hello Kitty and Pizza. Apparently, he originally had planned to stay with Brittany and Tyler in their hotel room. This was according to Brittany's interview, because he was probably going to be too drunk to drive. But then Tyler goes missing, and the friend just leaves. It's definitely strange. So I already thought it was strange without that. Now we're going to compound that. This friend, also possibly drunk, and he's actually planning to stay at the hotel in their room because it's too dangerous for him to drive drunk, but he leaves anyway after planning not to leave when Tyler's supposedly going to be back in a few minutes. Anyone else find that strange? Another good post here by Florida Dumpster Fire. Did surveillance pick up the friend following him? Sounds like he came into contact with Tyler but came back alone to give the wife assurances. Then he leaves right after. It's possible, I'll bet slim, when considering other possibilities, that the incident was was a ruse the friend was in on, so the two of them could go score drugs in the area without the wife knowing. I'm not familiar with the area, and neither was Tyler, but the friend lived around there and might know where to go to buy. The follow-up calls to the wife could have been continued assurances. Ultimately, something happens to Tyler, like ODing, and the friend keeps his mouth shut for fear of criminal charges for drug possession. Admittedly, it's a far-fetched theory when compared to Tyler getting lost and ending up in a hit-and-run or falling and drowning in a drunken state, but you'd think the body would turn up in those cases by now. And furthermore, what if their contact was someone they made contact with at the shady club? And they wanted to score from this shady individual, and they came up with this plot to keep the wife in the dark. And then it all goes sideways, and the friend is just too scared to come forward with it because of these Russian mobsters or whatever. If that's true. Someone else posted this. Okay, maybe the friend leaving isn't suspicious, in parentheses, I think it is. But the fact that he didn't come back the next day or the day after to help search is super sus. And this was posted by Gold Code. Huh. Yeah, if that's corroborated that he never came back and helped search, that is weird because he's local. I mean, again, would that point to him knowing something? Another poster here. Now, dumpsters have been brought up before. This is a pretty good post about that by Sunshine. Throwing the dumpster theory in the ring here, assuming it was cold in Ohio on that February night, a confused, drunk Tyler was probably cold and may have climbed into a dumpster for warmth. There are probably countless dumpsters in that complex. He either froze to death and was taken away to the local dump via garbage truck or was crushed to death by the garbage truck. Was the local dump searched? Curious. And then how many dumpsters are not in view of CCTV cameras? I mean, I'm assuming competent investigators would have nailed all that down. Another poster here. Have they looked at his credit cards? Do Abbott and Huntington not have CCTV? What do they show? And you would think Abbott Labs would have CCTV. I mean, I don't know. This is also strange. Now, what else could be the result here? If Abbott Labs had something to do with it, were they looking for test subjects for labs, and they abducted him and then scrubbed their CCTV so police could find nothing? Or is there some kind of deeper conspiracy where they're in on it with the local police? And why would that happen? I mean, I don't know. Again, I'm not saying that. I mean, this is a completely far-fetched, outlandish theory. But, again, if they don't have CCTV footage, or if it's showing that his phone is in the area that would be visible to CCTV footage and it's not, I mean, how is that explained? Someone else posted this. Tyler was listening to a comedian on YouTube minutes before he disappeared. So law enforcement have this information? Huh. Interesting. Does that point to foul play? Someone else posted, maybe he went back to meet a stripper from earlier. Huh. And this will be my final theory here before we wrap this up. Is it possible that there's some kind of scam going on with the strippers feigning interest in a customer if they see them flashing a lot of cash? And they're in on it with other guys in the club? Could that have been a situation? And she told him to contact her later. But then why is he listening to a comedian? I mean, I don't know. And then he's still trying to get back to the hotel? That doesn't quite add up either. I mean, nothing really adds up. The sewer, if he got stuck in the sewer, that's a possibility. That obviously needs to be searched to examine that theory. And then also exactly what happened at the club. I mean, what do security cameras show? And then are there no cameras at the lab? It's all very, very strange. Actually, there's another post here I wanted to go over by Auntie Av. I wonder if the Uber driver has been looked into. Drops off a bunch of drunk people, maybe they had a lot of cash on them, coming from a strip club and all, later sees one of them wandering alone and tries to rob him. That's another interesting theory. Someone else responded, as I recall, the Uber driver's story has been corroborated and he is clear of any suspicion. And so if that's true, then okay, then that theory can be ruled out. But that's interesting too. I'm sure there's not 0 Uber drivers out there that would commit a crime. There's another detail I'm guessing from the True Crime Garage podcast. She originally said so this is the wife, she originally said one of the girls at the strip club brought them water while they were waiting for their Uber. But she just posted on the Facebook group that a man brought them the water. It's a small detail, but it's like question mark. Which one was it? I could be wrong. I need to double check that. She said it was a girl, but I'm almost certain. Someone else responded, I also think if they are bringing you water at a strip club for free, then someone is messed up. Huh. What was in the water? She also said she was playing wingman for the friend. So another response here by 80s Boo this is on the True Crime Garage subreddit. Remember she kept saying she was playing wingman for him all night. So she was helping him find girls. Where was Tyler when she was doing that? And what exactly was she doing? Wingman could also refer to her helping him not attract certain girls, possibly by acting like his girlfriend. Maybe that got a little out of hand. And she doesn't say that her and Tyler were both in on playing wingman. It was just weird that she kept referring to that. Another response here by UB Fired. What I thought too. I was thinking she might be saying that in order to make people think she wasn't interested in him. Where if the truth is they thought Tyler was more out of it in the cab than he really was, they start messing around and he wakes up. If she's leaving that out of the story, telling everyone she was playing wingman could just be her way of trying to get people to not think they had something going on the side. Also, why'd she wake the friend up in the cab first? And plenty of married women have chimed in here saying that they would obviously wake up their husband first. Another analysis of this by Zetify938. Yeah, I think her recounting of the story is BS. Some of this may sound presumptive, but I think a little closer to what was going on. 1, she frequently used the term a couple of drinks. Very rarely is it a couple of drinks. Everyone in this group was hammered or more. Would also explain the illogical thinking as the night came to a close. She makes it seem like it was just a chill night. BS. Anyone who has ever dropped the kids off at the grandparents and got out of town is looking to cut loose. I find it hard to believe that one of the only nights of the year where they get to be adults was spent just chillin'. She mentioned that he liked to get shots and sip on them. Totally. Because people order shots of vodka and tequila to just have a nice toddy. Bull. He was crushing shots. He was out on the tow, a day off from a hellish job, kid-free with an old buddy, and they were getting drunk. Just say that. 2. The two had a blow-up argument at some point in the night. I think at the strip club. I've heard many stories where an SO, significant other, is totally cool with going to a strip club once they're there. And then, once they're there, the boyfriend husband gets a little too chummy with a dancer. Jealousy plus booze equals a blown up night. Also, it sounds like she's playing the cool wife card a little too hard. This explains why they were asked to leave the strip club so abruptly. It also explains why Tyler stormed off and needed to cool down. I get that Tyler probably gets cranky after getting woken up, but to just storm off like that was brought on by something more. That's curious. This person's pretty astute in their analysis here. This is Zetify938 on the True Crime Garage subreddit. And is that what happened? We actually didn't go over that possibility. If his wife just really got pissed off because of some situation with the dancer. 3, she either really hates or really likes Tyler's friend. This could have also added fuel to the fire for their big fight. She could have been too chummy with the friend, and that pissed Tyler off, or she could have hated him, and that could have pissed Tyler off. That's a really good point there, because that would explain why he didn't stay at the hotel, and then if he actually got pissed off at both of them by the end of the night, he just wanted to get out of there. 4, what happened to Tyler is still a mystery here. I don't buy the murder plot theory. If they were going to do that, there would be much easier ways to dispose of someone than the entire night of events. Could be an overdose. They both work in kitchens and at odd hours. Anyone who has worked in a kitchen for any length of time knows how easy it is to score anything you might need. Might also be a reason for the big fight. Tyler wanted to score some drugs to keep the party going, and she didn't. He could have got a hold of some drugs with somewhat cut with something else and overdosed. Another post here by Hello Kitty and Pizza. There's nothing wrong with a couple going to a strip club if that's their thing. However, I loathe the cool wife girlfriend card. It's so fake, and who are you trying to impress, and why do you need people to see you this way? This is in general, not just applicable to this case. Also, did you notice she said Tyler never gets angry? But he got in at least 2 fights that night with the bouncer and after the Uber. A couple of drinks was at least 8 to 10, each of them by my tally, and I'm betting that's actually the low end of what they actually drank. So, a lot of issues here. So, yeah, quite a few curiosities in this very, very perplexing case. And just oddities. I mean, how often... It's weird. If they got kicked out of the club and someone felt bad that they got kicked out, would they bring them water while they were waiting for their Uber? I mean, how often does that happen? I don't know. Or was there a fight? Or was were they flashing that much cash that the dancer was in on it with Russian mafioso in the club? Were they followed back? I don't know. Or was it simply the sewer grate that was left uncovered? Has that sewer been searched? So... yeah, there's so much to go over. If you have your own theories on what happened, or you want to give your own thoughts, theories, rebuttals, debunkings of any kind, leave them in the comment section. If you enjoyed the podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell for notifications. You can also like and share this podcast to keep awareness up, not only in this missing persons case, but in other missing persons cases. And you can like and share on Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Patreon, or other social media. And you can also support Mindshock by becoming a patron. And patrons do have priority for case topic, logical analysis, co-podcaster requests. You could also be a guest on the podcast depending on your tier. This is Bruce McGuire signing off. Catch you guys next time. Bye.